Okay, everybody. So welcome to another night. This is lesson 14. We're going to be working with different types of media today, how to do some of these lessons. I just want to make sure I got everything up. Yep. So did anybody come across any questions, things that they wanted to discuss today, or? Vicky's really been keeping me on my toes. She sends me emails and asks me things, and that's really good. I'm not really good after 6 o'clock because I'm rushing to get things together, but I really look forward to these meetings. So this is session 14. Then we have next week and the following week. We have 2 more weeks. And again, I'll always be on hand, emails, phone calls, whatever you need. Like Vicky has 2 friends who work with at-risk youth, and she wanted to know how to describe the program. And so she's going to show them the topics, that sheet that I showed you with topics. And that gives people, a bird's eye view of what we teach. And it's for all ages, we gear it. And then if necessary, she wants them to just call me or they make a Zoom meeting with me. I'm happy to go over things to see where it would fit in, because I'm sure it would fit in, because what I find, whether it's a drug court client center, drug rehab with adults or juveniles, at-risk youth, the core of their problems is not drug abuse. It's really relationships. And just because you had a troubled childhood or absent parents or even abusive parents, we can stop the madness now. We can become a person who is a person that is a loving person, and we can change our future. I changed my future. I was really headed down a wrong road, and I'm happy every day. I want to tell you the truth. Life throws me a lot of bad pitches, but I'm really happy. And this program has helped me to emotionally deal with things, but also make me feel very proud with the things that I am contributing to society. And when I'm contributing to others' well-being, I'm also contributing to my own well-being. And more than ever, it's so important. So I had a request from Vicky. She wanted me to work on synergy. So this is the teacher's outline that I had sent you. This is from the RQ journal. It's like 205 pages of activities and lessons, and they're a spin-off from the PowerPoint presentations that we already reviewed. And this way, students get to hash through in a more deeper way about these issues. Now, in a classroom setting, when I'm doing the PowerPoint, I'm just doing the PowerPoint and some workbook sessions, whatever's in the PowerPoint presentation. I'm not doing the RQ journal. The RQ journal was usually when we made clubs for youth, or you want to do a program that's just on the journal, which takes a whole year to do, just about. And there's a lot of language arts in that. It's also health related. And it's fascinating. I was just reading through some of the lessons. I've never done the RQ journal, but I've done a lot of the exercises and activities in it, as well as the references to the slides, of course. So with synergy, this is the learning objective. Students will understand that some people have a scarcity mentality. They think there's only one pie, so if you get a bigger piece, then I get less. Others have an abundance mentality, the idea that there is an infinite number of possible solutions and combinations which could benefit everyone. The former, that's the scarcity mentality, think, well, if somebody wins, somebody loses. The latter, the ones that think of abundance, they're thinking of a lot, they think win-win. I win, you win, we all win. And it's not like the thing where they do with trophies, where the teams play against each other, but everybody gets the trophy. It's not like this at all. There's a definite winner, but because you're working together, they call it 1 + 1 = 3. And it's fascinating. And I understood what they meant right away, but I find whenever you're doing these classes, what I'm going to try to do is show you what my process, because again, I never did this lesson before. What was my process to do this? Well, first of all, I don't know what synergy means. I will be the first to admit that I don't know what it means. So I get a dictionary out. And when I'm having the class read, if there's a word that they don't know, I wait till they finish the paragraph. Then I'll say something like, has anybody heard of the word abundance? What does the word abundance mean? And abundance means almost more than you could use yourself. It's so abundant, you know, like when something is scarce, everybody's grabbing for themselves. If gasoline is scarce, you see the lines for 3 days. Like after Katrina on the East Coast, we had a storm, there was no gas. So where there was gas, there was lines and fighting and everything. So abundance mentality, you think there's an infinite number of possible solutions. Well, I would also ask students, what does the word infinite mean? It means too many to count. When you find one solution, it makes you think of another solution. So this win-win is what the synergy is all about. And then we'll also be talking about the relationship with synergy and bullies. It's an unfortunate fact of life that we sometimes are faced with people who are looking for a fight. You see them everywhere. Given the situation, we may think we have to choose between fight or flight, running, right? Win or lose, but there are other alternatives. We can try to avoid the win-lose cycle. The greatest victory is to win over your opponent instead of defeating them. That means win them over to your side, help them overcome their anger, discuss things, you know, instead of defeating him. Usually people, like say on social media, somebody's blasting somebody. Well, I'm going to say stuff about them too. You know, you think you're defeating them, but how do you really feel? You're probably not feeling so good. But if you try to be kind and nice to this person, believe me, like in parts of this journal, I always feel you have to warn people. Some people, it doesn't matter what you say or do, they do not want to get along. They will never be your friend. But if it's a safe place, try some of these things to see if you can change things, but otherwise just avoid it. So we want to talk about ways to try and deal with bullies in the short term. That'll be discussed. So this is, first I would read the teacher's manual, this outline that we had sent. And I don't think this is it. Oh, and then it says suggested materials needed or suggested, the Relationship Intelligence Student Journal. So that's this one here. So this one, this is lesson number 10. So see how I highlight this? This is the one I sent you. It's a PDF file. And this is the page number. We're on 96, but there's a total of 202 pages. So see how I highlighted the 96? Now I'm going to put in the number 153 and hit enter. It's going to bring me, because I looked in the table of contents, synergy, the one that Vicki picked out for me, is you would pick out one. I don't even know what the word means, Vicki. Thank you so much. So Henry Ford, who is so famous, not just for Ford vehicles, but for inventing the assembly line. Only rich people could afford to have automobiles. And so he did an assembly line where so many were made so quickly that even people middle and lower class could afford transportation like this. And because of the assembly line, he made enough profit that he could actually increase the wages of the workers that made the other competitive automakers raise the wage. That's how wages should be raised, from competition. You want to keep your employees, so you got to pay them more, right? So there's a reading, and usually what I'll have is the students will read this. So I'm going to Just read the first paragraph. You run into all kinds of people in this world. Some people who are very generous would give you the shirt off their backs. Others who are continually mistrusting and envious eye others with suspicion and fear. Some have a scarcity mentality. They think there's only one pie, so if you get a bigger piece, I get less. They're always comparing and looking at other people. They think somebody wins, somebody loses. If one of us wins, the other has to lose. Such people spend so much time, so much effort defending what they have, just like my hummingbird out here with the hummingbird feeder. If a hummingbird comes near that feeder, I don't know, he just comes out of nowhere and dive bombs that thing. So worried it's got a huge, this thing would last him like 3 months, but he has a scarcity mentality. Then they're always fearful that somebody's going to take it away. Like even I see this with young people with their social media and their friends, their group. They don't want their friends to have other friends because they're worried they won't have a friend. Instead of just being a good friend, welcome other people into your group. They're so worried, well, if my friend is your friend too, then I'm not going to have as many friends, not realizing you're much more fun to be with when you're more giving. So others have an abundance mentality. That's like if I have a bushel of apples and it's just so full, they're even falling out. There's so much, there's plenty to share. I have an abundance. Like when we had the gasoline lines, it was the opposite. The idea that there's plenty for everybody and there's an infinite number of possible solutions and combinations that could benefit everyone. These people tend to think win-win and are often able to discover and create new opportunities and benefits that few thought possible previously. Like, I think the word synergy can kind of throw people off because it seems like a big word and it's really not energy, but maybe there's a little bit of energy that's created. So we really want to put people's minds at ease, and it really is a very simple concept. So one example of somebody who had an abundance mentality was Henry Ford. Early in the 20th century, Ford sought a way to create low-cost automobiles that would be available to large numbers of people, not just to wealthy people. He conceived of a new way for producing automobiles called an assembly line. That dramatically lowered the cost of purchasing an automobile. In addition, from sales profits, he decided to pay the workers higher baseline salary. So your base is here. You want to make more, you work extra hours, you take more responsibility, but the baseline was higher than other people were paying. This led to the raising of workers' wages in many industries. So instead of going on strike and ruining somebody's business, right? So this win-win thinking and action is sometimes called synergy. Stephen Covey, are you familiar with Stephen Covey? 7 Habits for Highly Effective Families, and just he made so many. I'm sure in marketing, he's one of the gurus. And he describes synergy as the magic that happens when 1 + 1 = 3 or more. And it happens because the relationship between the parts is a part itself. Do you understand that? How about you, Vicki? Do you understand that? That the parts say you're a part and I'm a part, right? We have a business relationship. There's actually another part number 3 is our relationship. It's not just Vicki and Linda. There's this relationship between us that's another very important part. And it has such a catalytic dynamic power that it affects how the parts interact with one another. It comes out of the spirit of mutual respect, win-win, and mutual understanding, producing something new, not in compromising or meeting halfway. Now, I don't like it when they use the words like catalytic. So I go through all my lessons. First, I went through the teacher's outline. Then I went through the dictionary words I don't know, because I have to be able to explain this, because they're going to raise their hand and ask me what that means. And catalytic is really a pip because it says causing, involving, or relating to catalysis.
Yeah.
This is Weber's dictionary. And then another one is, so I did a search on that one. Modification and especially an increase in the rate of a chemical reaction induced by material unchanged chemically at the end of the reaction. Yeah, really. So basically, it's just very interesting. But so basically there is a chemistry. We talk about chemistry between two people. So it's creating that the dynamic of that chemistry. It's creating something new. So the human body is a good example of synergy. Two eyes, this I didn't know, two eyes working together can see more clearly with more depth perception. Now that makes sense. Than two eyes working separately, like you open this eye, you open this eye, you put both of them together and it's very, very different, right? Two ears working together can tell sound direction and a lot of different things with tone, but it's not true if you do one ear at a time. Isn't that interesting? So the same thing with our relationships with people. So when you look at human beings when you look at beings who really cooperate and trust each other, a new creative mind comes into being that leads to insights and solutions that the individuals would have had a hard time coming up with. But because there's the two of them, and I'm seeing this more and more, and sometimes I'm thinking, why are you doing this? You're asking each person to write something down randomly about this, and you write it down, and then you put it together. But they're coming up with new ideas that people didn't see. And I find that all the time when I'm in these meetings, like county level, state level meetings, usually for drug prevention and different things like this. And my field experience definitely gives me different insight. They have all the book knowledge and the alphabets behind their names, but they don't have the real boots on the ground type of experiences where I see their philosophies, trends, and research. I see it coming to life in front of my very eyes, you know. So when we were talking about synergy, I was thinking of sports and business, and it turns out those are the two examples they give. So a good, because you know, we really need, we call our program is a reality-based program, whether it's health, sex, intimacy, relationships. It's a reality-based program. It's not some dreamland fantasy. So a good example of this is the sports teams whose members don't just think about their own glory or success. They work together sacrificially, meaning I'm going to pass the ball to him. He's going to make the basket. Everybody's going to shout and cheer for him. He got the point, but would he got it without me? No. But I'm willing to do that because we want our team to win. A victory for one is a victory for all. And so then everybody wins. But when you get these hot shots, whether it's the business world, sports, anywhere, they want all the glory, they want everything, and nobody's happy. Nobody's happy. Nobody wants to be around them. So people who work sacrificially together for their shared success. Many observers of professional baseball said the reason the New York Yankees won the 1998 World Series, I remember it, was because of this type of unity. They totally worked as a team. They were not individual personalities with their big contracts and everything. In synergy, you not only have mutual vulnerability, you make yourself vulnerable to another person, the creation of shared vision and the new solutions, you also have a sense of mutual accountability to the principles built into those creations. Because you contributed and other people contributed, you feel a responsibility to work together to make this bear fruit. So these principles bring moral or ethical backbone into the culture, raising a standard that individuals strive to meet in their own lives. So we're talking about morals and ethics, how people can become strong and realize we're always in relationship to others. Stephen Covey often compares the synergy of principles to a third person embodying the collective conscience, shared vision, and values, and traditions of the culture. So you can see this becomes very involved. And again, I have the students read this, maybe 2 paragraphs, 1 paragraph. If anybody refuses, I go to the next. I say, thank you anyway. Never make somebody feel uncomfortable, because we don't know. English might be their second or third language. They may just feel uncomfortable, or they're bullied, whatever. And we always thank everybody for their reading. And if somebody's stumbling over a word, just to get them through it, I'll say what the word is, and they're fine with it. You know, they don't feel like I corrected them or anything. I know some people say, well, sound out the word. That's okay too, you know, but if they really don't know the word, help them out. So we talk about the collective conscience. You know, we've gotten so much into individualism in this country. It really is a shame, because you see less happiness, more drug abuse, which is an escape route, right? You just see a lot of unhappiness because people don't realize how to work on a relationship, how much better people feel if they work on things together. As human beings, you look at your whole body, it's all a give and take relationship. You know, your blood vessels, breathing oxygen, exhaling oxygen. The trees need the oxygen, carbon dioxide, I think. Is it carbon dioxide? I believe, breathe out. I always forget. Carbon monoxide is the cars, I think. You know, but it's like everything is in relationship to each other, and it's just amazing. So trusting each other, being mutually vulnerable isn't easy. You're risking your own concepts in order to build something greater than yourself. It takes humility. You know, humility is a strength, and people don't realize that. If people don't want to get in fights, or they're not ruthless, they figure they're weak. No, that's probably the strong person. So if you think about it, being humble takes a great deal of confidence. Insecure people cannot risk being humble. That's where you get your bullies. They're insecure. You never see a bully pick on or challenge somebody who can beat them up. It's always got to be somebody weaker or a sucker punch them, right? Insecure people cannot risk being humble. Their self-concept is so shaky, they feel they have to fight to defend every inch. Such people will fight tooth and nail over the most insignificant issues. Others quickly learn that trying to cooperate with such a person usually means win-lose, not win-win. So you just keep reading that. Oh yeah, this really got me too. It says, we're talking about opening your heart to another person can be risky, but the rewards are enormous. Particularly when you get married, you may find that what attracted you as something mysterious and different in the beginning can soon become a source of frustration, since your spouse's way of seeing things may be so different from your own. Accepting and even celebrating differences in ways of thinking and acting is essential to making marriage and other relationships successful. I have to do a disclaimer on this, though. I always tell any audience, we have to become better choosers. It's not so much that that person's a bad person or you are, but we need to become better choosers. People don't, why are they frustrated? Because you didn't get to know this person. You should already know that their ideas and ways of doing things conflict with yours. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just different. That's why I suggest to people, you know, go to the 5 love languages website. They do a free survey. You do your own survey on your love languages. It's more meaningful for me when my partner does this or this. And then you choose which one. They analyze it, takes a minute, and they tell you maybe receiving gifts is your love language, receiving words of affirmation, spending quality time, holding hands, because you can just give the world to somebody, but it's not their love language. And they don't feel loved. Yes, Vicki.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. And sometimes, you know, when you're getting into relationships and you get married and it's all brand new, you come into a problem or a disagreement, and then you start thinking of ways you can change that person when it's really yourself, that you need to work on.
Yeah.
Mm.
We're being self-centered, right? We're thinking it's my way or the highway. What's wrong with you? Rather than taking a back seat and watching how they handle situations, learn from that person, and then how can you harmonize with them? That's why it's important, because some things are really not a big deal. But other things like drug addiction, porn addiction, gambling addiction, uh, you know, multiple partners, that's why it's really important, exactly what you're saying, that we need to get to know, because some things are really a serious problem. And people don't want to give an inch. And it's not what, this person put up such a good front. That's why that one, I was telling you, that one relationship, he's a therapist, actually. He said, I will not counsel a couple unless they've had their first fight, because I want to see, how do they fight? How do they resolve their differences? How you resolve your differences, in line with what you were saying, is more important than what you were fighting about. So I also share with young people especially, but anybody, it takes 1 year just to begin to get to know somebody. Typically, it takes 3 years to pretty much know this. And kids are they're naming their babies already when they've known each other 3 months. This is crazy. So I tell them about the love language, also about doing table topics. Go to a place where, you're not going to be snuggling up to each other, like go to a hamburger joint or get, a cup of coffee or something like that. And write down a list of questions that you want to ask this person. Like, describe other friends, friendships. What is your family like? Talk about family history. Are there any relatives you don't get along with? Why? What are the ones you really like? Why? And then, your family, previous relationship history. Like this one girl I knew, she almost got killed by this guy that she thought was the most amazing person on earth. And like I said, she went to the next town, asked the girl, why did you break up with this person? She says, oh, because he broke my arm. I had 2 restraining orders on him. She knew that her boyfriend, the guy that she wanted to be her boyfriend, had really loved this girl, and they broke up. And when she would say, why'd she break up with you? He would just chuckle and say, she had her reasons. Well, the girl should have asked him to be a little more specific, because she's just thinking, well, that girl must have been whacked because this guy's perfect. So ask about pornography use. How often do you look at porn? Don't even say, oh, do you look at porn? How often do you look at porn? Can you freely express yourself? Can you ask questions? If you're afraid to have table topics, this is not a good match. So, and again, we encourage for young people, really try not to date exclusively one person until you've graduated from high school, because you get so distracted. Everything is about this other person, being with them, thinking about them, talking with them, and then if they break up, you don't want to do homework, you want to drop out of school. It's just horrible, and everybody's in your business. It's better just to be a friend to everybody, focus on what's going to matter in your future. And can they freely express themselves with you, or do they clam up? Well, that's just how they are. Okay. Imagine if this person was like this the rest of your life. Would that be okay? A lot of people think, oh no, once we get married, then this person is wonderful. Do they have debts? How do they handle money? A lot of times how you handle money is how you handle love. So it's really good to get to know people. And what I find is the teenagers start seeing, while relationships really take a lot of work. It's not like we just fell in love and that kind of a daydream scenario. So I just wanted to mention again, I sent you a few minutes ago my process with preparing this lesson that I have never done before. So I told you about looking up the words in the dictionary, reading the teacher's outline so you get an idea what, because this is a lot of words. This is a lot of stuff we're talking about, but what are the key components? So on the other hand, synergy does not mean being a doormat who goes along with every idea the other person has. It does mean making an effort to truly understand the other person's point of view, as well as clearly expressing your own without a lot of negative emotions attached. And again, I tell everybody, this is not just about a love partner. This is about coworkers. This is about your relationship with your family. And it's just everybody just thinks about a sexual relationship, a loving relationship, but they're not thinking the process to become that type of person who can have a real relationship. If you're with this person and you break up, you're with this person, they break up with you, you're this person cheating, you're only 14, you've already lost 3 partners. How does that affect your ability to trust during those formative years while your brain is developing? Not very well. Not very well. So synergy and bullies. Bullying is at an all-time high with all this social media and everything like this. One girl says, Miss Linda, I have 1,000 friends, but not one friend. That's when Facebook was big. It's an unfortunate fact of life that we sometimes are faced with people who are looking for a fight. Given this situation, we may think we have to choose between fight or flight, win or lose, but there's a lot of other alternatives we can try to avoid the win-lose cycle. The greatest victory is to win over your opponent instead of defeating them. This obviously takes greater maturity and self-control than just trying to beat up somebody. That's why we need to be prepared emotionally ahead of time. Because once you're confronted, a lot of things happen. And nowadays, I'm telling you, I don't want to be confronted by anybody. There's just used to be boundaries. You know, you had to tell somebody you wanted to get in a fight. They didn't just sucker punch you or shoot you with a gun or something like that on the sidewalk. It's kind of a nutty world now. So there's this organization called Martial Arts for Peace. And so, of course, they're teaching people self-defense. They can handle themselves pretty well in a fight. And the sensei said, number 1, make friends. Treat the person as a friend instead of an enemy, just like Nelson Mandela did in a previous chapter. Use humor. You can turn a threatening situation into a funny one. You know, just laugh and joke. Say, oh, you don't want to do that. Say, how are you doing today? Walk away. Don't just get into it. Just walk away. Just ignore them. Use cleverness. Use your own creative imagination to resolve the conflict. Agree with the bully. You know, like I even tell them, like, because the schools I go, there's so much bullying and fighting every day, you know. When the person says, you're fat and ugly, just say, what'd you say? Say that again. That was hilarious. Hey, Jamal, come over here. Tell Jamal what you just said. She's fat and ugly. It's hilarious, you know. And then, you know, then people think they'll either leave you alone or they'll think you're crazy and leave you alone. But you know, just to loosen up the tension, because a lot of times, you know, we really need to make the bullies look bad, that they're the weak people, and refuse to fight. Stand up to a bully. That's another one. Just say no to bullying. No, I'm not going to be bullied by you. And no, I'm not going to fight with you. Scream and yell. That always helps. They don't want to be noticed. A powerful shout can end a conflict before it starts. Ignore the threat. Just be like bamboo. You know, they say bend with the wind. When somebody's in a bad mood, it's better just not pay attention to what they say. You don't want to have give and take with negative words or energy. Let the storm pass and talk to that person later after their fit of anger. You know, like if it's, you know, you feel it's safe to say, look, you'll really look angry, and I'm sorry if something I've said or done bothered you. Can we talk about this later when you're more chill, when you just chill down a little bit, you know, and talk about that. And sometimes, like if you're in school, then I'd go to a guidance counselor and say, this person's threatening me. They're really angry. I think somebody probably said something I didn't say, and things like this. I had a girl that was next door to me. She went out with a lot of boys. We were freshmen in high school. I think I mentioned it. And one time she invites me, says, come over here, Linda. So I go next door and she introduces me to these 2 boys. And I go, why is she introducing? Nobody likes me. I'm just an ugly little girl. And then I left. I went home. And then a week later, like all of a sudden I have these people knocking down my front door, jumping over fences in my backyard. There was like 15 people. They were older high school kids from La Mirada High School, and saying something. And then the girl next door, her mother had just got home from work. She came in the driveway. She told everybody to go home. They were in my house, you know. I'm just a little girl. I don't know what is going on. Turned out the girl next door, she liked this boy. And then she wrote this letter to his girlfriend that he said he was broken up with, and says, I'll beat you up, you know, I'll take care of you. You leave him alone. I love him. So when they went to her house, because they knew who she was, she says, that wasn't me. That was Linda next door. I never even kissed a boy. I never been out with a boy. I was one of those real losers, you know, and not because I hadn't done those things, but nobody would have anything to do with me. I was just a typical little girl. That's all. And she blamed it on me, and I just like couldn't believe it. So sometimes, you know, things, we always want to sidestep it, but it just, some people are just really weird. So in other words, they said something that I said that I had no reason to say. So sometimes you can't reason. It was nice they left though nowadays, because they were really a gang of kids, you know. Then other things happen. Show that you're ready to fight, but you really don't want to. Yes, that's for your martial arts people. I don't think a lot of people really want to get into fights. So the real challenge is not just to avoid conflict, but think about the well-being of your opponent. How can we both win? Given all the endless, pointless wars and conflicts going on all over the earth, the world definitely needs principled peacemakers who can think and work to find creative, peaceful solutions that avoids creating winners and losers. Dr. Webster Doyle, he's the founder of the Martial Arts Partners for Peace program, points out that bullying takes many forms. Introvert bullies, they don't want to be recognized. They don't want to, they don't rebel, they conform, but they also want to be in control. So they do a lot of smooth talking and things underneath on the side. And unselfishness is the key. Like they say, the root of all evil is money. I don't think so. I think it's self-centeredness. So unselfishness is the key. Self-centered people ultimately create small worlds that become their own prisons. They deprive themselves of the joy that exists beyond our own boundaries. As Stephen Covey says, synergy is a situation in which 1 + 1 is at least 3. It is the highest, most productive and satisfying level of human interdependence. We need each other. We're independent, but we're interdependent. That real independence and creativity is based upon how we relate to each other. It represents the ultimate fruit on the tree. There's no way to get that fruit unless the tree has been planted, nurtured, and becomes mature enough to produce it. So when people truly communicate and synergize based on mutual openness and respect, 1 + 1 = 3 or more. So I will be asking for questions later. So let's see. Sorry, it's not so easy to move this. So then when we're done with this reading, and you could see this would take maybe 3 classroom sessions if you were in school. This could be homework where I go, kids just don't do their homework. They don't care. You're going to fail me. I don't care. I'm not doing my homework. So you might want to do it in class. So questions for reflection. Do you know people who have a scarcity mentality? Describe that. Do you know people who have an abundance mentality? Describe that. Which ones are happier and create more joy in the world? I get happy just thinking about it. When I look at even the word scarcity mentality, it's very sad. It's very sad. It's just like, you know, the kid is in a group and their friend is still their friend, but they also want to be a friend with somebody else. And a kid very typically, well, if you're going to be friends with them, I'm not going to be friends with you. Is that sad or what? Have you ever experienced synergy in your relationships in sports or other cooperative activities? If so, explain. What did it feel like? How did it draw on your character? Did it require sacrifice? Was it worth it? If you can't recall experiencing this type of synergy, research and just, if you can't recall experiencing this type of synergy, research and describe situations where people creatively synergize to accomplish a common goal. You can look at inventions and everything else. Like, kind of a sad thing is Facebook, because it was other people that were involved and then he kind of stole their ideas. I mean, that's a really great example of somebody who was just in it for themselves. People basically hate him. You know, the person who runs Facebook, they basically hate him because he controls things. He wants everybody to march to his drummer, and he's really ripped a lot of people off, and it's just sad. Have you ever seen or experienced victimization by a bully? Describe, what do you think could have been done to avoid conflict? Why do you think people become bullies? What are the non-physical way that people bully each other? So sometimes it's nice to walk them through this, because sometimes kids get overwhelmed with words. So when you break it down by each sentence, even what does the word victimization? Sometimes even if I'm reading a question, I'll have the students read it, but if I'm reading it, I'll use a different word. Have you ever seen or experienced a bully trying to make somebody their victim? That's victimization, right? Because otherwise they don't understand the concept. I work in very urban kind of settings. So, that's synergy right there. You're talking to the class and there's you. And what could have been done to avoid the conflict? Well, them coming up with their ideas, that's the synergy. They're really, a lot of times they're talking about things they feel is morally and ethically the best answers for their personal situation, but due to the environment, they're being told that's whack, that's weak, what's up, whereas when they are presenting this in the classroom and they're getting words of affirmation, that's amazing. That's really great. Everybody write that down. There's this synergy, then more hands go up. They're so afraid of people laughing at them. So they really need these. And sometimes you have to do the assignment for them. Well, I remember when I was younger, this is what, have any of you had that? So you can always draw them out through asking more questions. Why do you think people become bullies? They always say, because they were bullied too. So, I was bullied, and you know what it did? It taught me that really sucks. That really doesn't feel good. I'm always going to try to reach out to people and make them feel valuable. I'm going to tell people, my UPS guy, run to the door after he drops it off in my front door. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And then he says, have a great day, as he's running to the truck. He's happy. I'm happy. Synergy. What problems do you see in your community that could be solved or avoided if people work together in a synergistic way that we have been discussing? You're getting kids to be involved in their community. What's going on in your community? What's going on in your school? They might, solved or avoided. Like single parenthood has devastated a lot of our inner cities. It's not like a woman got divorced, her husband left her. They've never been married. Even her mother was never married. And they keep thinking, oh, I'll be rich with all this government money. And they can't find a man that wants to be with them because they have children by other men. It's a big problem. Discuss Covey's comparison of synergy and of principles to a third person, embodying the collective consciousness, shared vision and values and tradition of the culture. How does relating to this collective conscious benefit people's life? You can almost see some of this is almost college level. Sometimes you have to break it down. Each question, break it down, like you read it and then do an explanation of it. So I often do that. And there's certain things, I've done it so many times, I just say it in the simple language, which I feel fine. I'm not limiting their vocabulary. I'm getting their brains functioning. They're going to write, they're going to read, so they really get a lot out of it. And collective conscience, that means all people trying to think the same way in a healthy way, like say sports. You're not thinking, well, I'm doing swimming after this game. I'm going here. No, you're thinking, we're together. Each of you has a different position, but we're going to work together because the end game is we want to win as a team. Collective conscience, right? And that means sacrificing for the other. So what happens when people lack a sense of shared values and traditions that they respect and try to, well, eventually they don't respect anybody. And that's kind of very sad. So, like I had this one Muslim girl, she was one of the first Muslim families in the town I worked in. And she wrote me a full 1-page letter, 7th grade girl. She always wore the hijab. Only girl in the hijab. And I went to all the schools that I saw. She says, everybody used to make fun of me because I'm not dating. My religion, we don't date. And I was so happy when you came to our school and started talking to all of us. And my mother's so happy. And now all the kids think I'm cool because I'm not dating anybody. So she went from being made fun of to being cool. So I thought, mission accomplished. So chapter notes, we always have documentation where we get our information, how you can reach those people. But Stephen Covey has done so many things like, look, this is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi, this peaceful protesting. And a lot of people, even in the African-American community, were not happy that he was being peaceful. They wanted him to, get violent with them. And he just wanted to go the longer, slower route. We still talk about him. We still want to model after him. He's one of the greatest patriots this country has ever known, and didn't shoot a single shot, didn't burn down a single building. And yet we have streets named after him, schools named after him. He really left an incredible legacy. So it goes on, and we don't want to spend a lot more times, but we bring it into relationships, great love stories. And sometimes people get swept away with the immediate emotions, like with Titanic. But there's no like after story. How did they get together as husband and wife and relate to each other and things like this? It's always just about in the moment. Or the Twilight series, with the werewolf and the vampires and everything with the teenagers. But not so much about, long lasting love. I know the main characters, maybe they did, but not so many other people. And Avatar and stuff, they focus mostly on just this intense infatuation. So love is large in this way. It can't just be remained confined in a small circle, but by its nature, it needs to grow. And so just like a couple love each other deeply, but they could care less about the children, wouldn't their love for each other seem as contradictory and immature? So how about a couple who love each other and the children, but are prejudiced and bigoted to other people in the community? Their own children might reject their own parents by being too narrow and small-minded in that way. So it's just really, really amazing the things we can learn. So I always advise, read the teacher's outline. In just a couple paragraphs, tells you basically what to look for. At the end of this, it's called I Pledge to My Future Self, Family, and Community. And it's talking about, I'm not going to use drugs, alcohol, violence, and all of these. I'm not going to have uncommitted sex outside of marriage. I'm going to use this period of singleness in my life to practice integrity. Oh boy, just lost it. And I will be accountable too. A lot of them put my name in there. I go, no, because I don't have any way to get a hold of you. A teacher, an uncle, an aunt, somebody who will help you accomplish these things. And then they carry it in their pocket, and then they sign it. And then we even put the definition of integrity, something that is soundly built, person of integrity. So we want to, deep down, people want to be people of integrity. The people, you may not be respected while you're growing up, but later as an adult, people will always look back on your life that you were a person of integrity, that you did not compromise your values. So then also in this, we have questions for reflection about couples. And, we always want to talk about those, because this is what a lot of teenagers are thinking about. They think about love and, my future spouse who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. They're only 12. But they think everybody they have a crush on, this is my person, developing self-leadership, can I lead myself? And interpersonal relationship leadership, essential preparation for community leadership. So, people who are involved with their community, whether they do food drives, they clean up the sidewalk in front of their apartment, these people are the happy people. The people who are doing, living for the sake of others. They're doing things for not just how I can become rich, how I can do this, how I can be cool, have the best gear and clothes, and who are people you admire because of the way they serve others. We used to be able, there's too many to list. A lot of times people don't know because they're not being taught. I'm really happy in some of the urban schools, they'll have all these models of great character, like Madam Walker. She was the first African-American woman who was a millionaire. And this was when racism was like really real, Ku Klux Klan. And she taught other women how to dress nice and be successful. They were selling soap and beauty products door to door. It was amazing. She built an empire and shared it with others, synergy. So we even have a postage stamp after her. Where could you go to learn more about service activities? Brainstorm. Where can you go? Where can you hear more about this? There's the library, city hall, your guidance counselor. A lot of times there's clubs in school doing volunteer work. So again, chapter notes, and great joy and fulfillment lie in being useful to and serving others. So basically, does that help you any, Vicki?
Yeah, I just, it looked really interesting to me, and I liked what you said about them making the right choice, making sure they make the right choice, because I had an aunt who was full-blooded Cherokee Indian, and when me and her daughter, even when we were kids, used to play together, she would tell us things. And one of her little quotes was, "When you lie down with dogs, you get fleas."
That's a good one.
I always remembered that.
And it makes sense. And everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
Those commonsensical type of sayings, we have lost them in our vocabulary. Like sometimes, like Take-san was not born here, so we have to explain what it means. And in Japan, they also have sayings that when you translate it into English, we're saying, what do you mean? But it's very deep. It's very deep. So it's the same thing here. And it just goes back. We have to just break it down, but it's so true. Even when I was growing up, we did Aesop's Fables. It was one card. You read it, answer the questions, put it back. I was just racing through those things. The ants and the grasshoppers. I mean, how amazing was that? And even the swan one where the girl's knitting the jacket for the brother. I mean, all of these things is so many ways to teach about character and ethics, how to become happy. I can't control what other people think or say or do, but I can control how I do it and how I treat others. But what intrigued you about this particular lesson, why you chose it?
Well, I guess because in years of working where different places I've worked, we've always pretty much gone by teamwork, working together. Didn't matter your status, you just work together.
Yeah.
But I did have a question in that with this particular course. I mean, there is a lot of reading. It looks like there's a lot of reading to this. So are you trying, I guess I'm wondering, are you doing this so many, like couple of days? Are you doing it? I guess you're not doing all this in one class, the whole.
I can't even think of, see, like I said before, this particular part of our curriculum is only done in club settings.
Oh, okay.
People who meet regularly, like you could do it in a rehab center, an at-risk youth center, and so they're practicing their reading skills. It is a lot of reading. That's why I have them read it out loud, because then the slower readers, they can understand it better. And doing it more verbally, a lot of kids are verbally, but then you have the reading for the people who just want to read it.
So this is more for clubs, and then if you're doing just PowerPoint, like the PowerPoint thing, then it's more for.
Like when I go to schools, I'm only doing the PowerPoint, and then I have the workbooks, I have some of the lessons for the older kids are in this workbook. It'll always be indicated on the slides. And then for then the other ones would be, this student workbook, the Love Smarts work, like make a goal, what's her steps to accomplish that goal, refusal skills. Somebody says, hey, smoke this joint, what would you say? They want you to smoke, and they say, what's wrong with you? And you say, nothing wrong with me, what's wrong with you? We teach them those comeback lines. So yeah, so the PowerPoint is not reading for them. Only when there's an activity, and it's usually like maybe, 3 or 4 sentences. It's primarily writing. And sometimes I don't have time to really do a lot of writing. So I'll just do the workbook verbally. And then I'll say, take the book home and do it as homework. But we've already done it verbally. So if they're writing it down, it's great. And usually the workbooks, if you do classrooms, I haven't put the room number and their name on the outside, and the book stays in the classroom. It doesn't go in their backpacks because you'll never see them again. They'll say, I lost my book. You still have to do the work. And then sometimes I just copy it and I'll just pass it out. I've done that before too when I didn't have any extra workbooks. These are new. The ones I sent you were maybe 2 years old, a year old. And they're timeless. It's so great, because the activities in there I've been doing for over 20 years. And it's just wonderful. It really helps people see how to be successful in life. It's very impactful. And the kids are engaged. And then with the refusal skills, I let them act it out. One person reads the hit line, like, what's wrong with you? And the other one will read what they wrote down. Or I'll say the hit line, and I'll say, if you love me, you'd let me. And they go, if you love me, you'd stop asking. They come up with the greatest things. We really underestimate our youth's assets. I'm telling you, they get excited about it. You don't have to worry about exciting them, and as you get more confidence, then you have more analogies. Oh, when I was in this other school, this person said this person. I never say their names because they know each other. I don't want to get in trouble. So it's very interesting. Again, you're always a reporter. If somebody tells you confidentially about a domestic violence situation, sexual abuse, anything, you report to the guidance counselor. I don't report to the teacher usually, unless it needs immediate attention. And when I go to a school, I say, if there's a situation I become aware of, should I go to your guidance counselor or who should I report this to? And they know how to approach the child. They know everybody, they're not going to be snitches and all that. So it's good to remember. And again, with touch, don't touching the students. It's so, because all the kids in the hood, they love to they want to hug me and everything. So you just always have to be careful these days. But and I never give personal information to a kid. They can go to our websites and stuff. There's even contact them for advice. Like Richard used to get little emails from some students, and they would talk about their personal situation, and they would really love our class because it helped them, reaffirm that they did the right answers. But sometimes they ask for advice. So I would write down advice, give it to Richard, and he would email it back to them. But I wouldn't do personal relationships. We're not counselors. Schools, they belong to the administration. They don't belong to our organization. So just those kind of things, you always want to be careful. Your host, you always want to know what their rules are and stuff like that. But yeah, so this was good. Like I said, Vicki, I had no idea what synergy was. I didn't know how to do this. I never saw this activity before.
You did it. Thank you.
Yeah, and so again, I sent you guys the my process, what I did, at least the beginning of it. And then so Linda, the beginning of next, Miss Forrestal, the beginning of next week, if you could share the activity that you sent to me today, that would be really great. Just
Okay.
how you went about it. So, 10 minutes, whatever you want to do. So that'll be the beginning of next week. Next week is our 15th session out of 16. So,
Hey, Linda,
yes,
I put something in the chat. Did everyone see it?
chat. No, I didn't. Yeah, usually I don't notice the chats. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good example of synergy.
Oh, wonderful.
I
Okay,
have an article of
definitely.
Epoch Times, and I'd love for people to like it and share it.
Okay, wonderful. So is it there where everybody can see it in the chat, or was it just to me?
No, it's to everyone.
Okay, good, wonderful. And I think it'd be good, I want to email it out too so the people who weren't here can see it as well. I would love to do that. And I like Epic Times, I like sound news, and it's very interesting, this story that came from communist China and all this stuff. So wonderful. Yeah, that's
It's my
great.
second piece with them. They asked, I'm going to be doing more. I have a,
Wonderful,
Mhm.
wonderful.
So I really appreciate everyone's, help in sharing it.
Yes,
The more shared
absolutely.
it
And
gets, the more,
yeah, and I'll share it
yeah.
with my texting buddies too. They share with a lot of people too.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks, Linda. And
Yeah,
everyone else. Thank you.
See, when good people are doing good things, we really need to support them. Like say someone in your board of education, they're doing something that's really good for the parents and the kids. Write them a dang thank you letter. We just say, well, they're just doing their job. No, do you know how hard it is just to do the right thing nowadays? It's very hard. So it's good. Same with the surveys. When I get from the stores, I write down people's names. What's your name? Because I'll do a survey and mention that person's name, that they helped me or whatever. Life is a point system. And the benefit, the synergy of this, I feel good for doing it. It's just amazing. So yeah, so we talk about synergy. You've got to make synergy an action verb. And that's a great way to end the lesson.
Just
Definitely.
one
Thank
more,
you, Sharon.
Linda, one more thing. If
Yes.
people scroll to the bottom of that first article, you'll see a
Yes.
link to the recipe.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
And it's,
definitely.
Thomas Jefferson's recipe for ice cream he bought back from
My
France.
gosh, you're kidding me. Oh, this is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Well, definitely I'll look at that tonight, and I'm going to send it out as an
Okay,
email to
great.
all of the participants. And they should do like a like and share type of thing, or
Yeah, you can share it. You can like it,
Mhm.
or you
Okay.
can share it. Like share it to
Wonderful.
Facebook or to your email or whatever platform.
Terrific.
It gets more, points.
Yeah, well, that's good. Life is a point system, and again, we're creating synergy. So that's what it's all about. So it's excellent. Excellent. So that's what we'll do. Next week, Linda's going to take a few minutes to overview her question, one of my favorite stories, by the way. And then I'm going to be better prepared for going to be doing, Carol had requested that I do lesson number 10. It's really humanly impossible to go through everything. And I really am impressed. Pretty much everybody's been looking through the table of contents, looking at different, you can see where this goes. You go from synergy to love relationships. It's just amazing. And how we tie in the whole person education. It's not just about sex or abstinence and STDs. It's really about future employment, how to create better friends, how to be happy in life. Everybody without exception just wants to be happy. And that's what we work on. So I'm going to let everybody go. Give yourself a great big hand. You did an excellent job, everybody. And yeah, this is really great. So those of you, did everybody I sent 2 books to people, the RQ.
I got mine.
Great, and the prevention, good. If you don't get a book, you got to email. Taki-san did not get hers yet, and she did get something else I sent her. So there's something going on there. So if Taki-san, if you do not have it by Tuesday or Wednesday, just send me an email and I'll put a tracking on it and I'll send you another one in a brown envelope or something.
I don't know.
It's a good book. Your husband will love it. It's really a good book if he has time to read.
What's the name of the book you said?
It's RQ, it's Relationship Intelligence.
Oh,
This one. Linda, I got those
So
a couple days ago.
this is his original, Dr. Panzer's original book that he wrote, it's hard to see, that he bases the program on. RQ, looks like this. And then we had a lot of problems with violence in schools, and he wrote this book called Preventing Violence. And it's just a good resource books. They're nice. And yeah, so he's really wonderful for this. You know, I was willing to buy them from him, and he said he wanted to give them, he was just so impressed with everybody. He wanted to give them that on top of everything else. So this is a very special group. So I hope we can really multiply and do where we feel comfortable. And again, Linda, like we talked about, I think there'll be some of these things that you can use, like especially part 4 talks a lot about relationships. Doesn't have to be just marriage, you know, talk about relationships and things like this, because people usually want to go, when they mature, they usually want to spend their life with just one person. So I need to let you go because I know it's been a long day for everybody, but yeah, no matter how tired I am, I really look forward to these classes and appreciate you very much. So everybody have a wonderful rest of the week. And yes, and I'll definitely share this.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.